kind of share their thoughts on this. How does memory play a role in our lives on a daily basis? And there's really no wrong answer to this. Yes, what's your name, by the way?
Kristen.
Kristen, hi.
Memory plays a role in my life, just trying to remember my phone, my keys, my wallet. I need my stuff for class. I need to remember, oh, to go to this office hours.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have memory, I would just, be chaos.
So the life of a busy college student, it helps you navigate that, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else? How does memory play a role? Yeah. What's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon.
Hi. Like for me, I kind of related like to school.
Okay.
Like memory for me is like extremely important, especially with my like majors. Like I'm a psych major, and a lot of like what we have to learn is a lot of definitions and theories and stuff. And like being able to being able to understand that and like remember definitions is extremely important for like tests and quizzes. Because like if you didn't have memory, you would fail every test that you took because you wouldn't know what the answers were because you had nothing to study.
Exactly. There would be nothing there, right? It'd be a blank slate. Very good, very good. So yeah, we definitely need it for school. We need it to navigate our daily lives to accomplish goals, right? So your goal is to get out of college and get a degree and go on to work, right? And so we need our memory to accomplish that. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Arun.
Arun, hi.
Hi. I said it like plays a role in like very basic things like remembering like to do like daily hygiene things, how to get to school, remembering faces and people and how I'm related to those people.
Yeah.
Passing things.
That's an excellent point. So it's kind of related to your identity a little bit, right? Because the people we interact with, our families, our past experiences even, they kind of define us, right? So when you ask somebody, who are you as a person? They usually talk about their family, their background, a life-changing experience, things like that. So yeah, that's an excellent point. Yes. Did you have a comment?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Drew.
Hi.
Hi. I was just going to say that I think memory is important for survival. Like, not a lot of people think about it, but if you didn't remember, like, fire was hot or when it's cold outside, you should wear a jacket, then you probably wouldn't survive that long because those are important things to know.
Yeah, so probably, the species of animals that have survived all this time, like they probably had legitimate good memories at least to avoid danger or to protect themselves. It's a survival mechanism. That's an excellent point as well. Yes, it is. All right. Any other thoughts or comments? It's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And so how might, if we had memory impairment, how might this impact our daily life? And I'd like to go back to the point you just made about survival. It would hinder us as a human, right? We could get into some serious trouble if we couldn't remember that, that fire is hot, or things like that. Any other thoughts about how it might be impairing? Yes.
I mean, this may be like a little deep, but like if you don't have memory, you kind of like don't know who you are because certain things that you do are based on like your likes and dislikes, and if you had no memory, you wouldn't know what you liked and you disliked.
Right.
So you would be all over the place.
So again, going back to that identity thing, would you really have an identity? It would, maybe not. Yeah.
I feel like it would be really difficult to like maintain like relationships with people.
Yeah. Like what if you couldn't remember your mom or your best friend or what happened, that funny thing that just happened, right? Like, yeah, those are some of the happiest experiences of our lives, the relationships we have and things like that. What's your name again?
Madeline.
Madeline, thanks. Excellent point. Any other thoughts? All right, so I think we've established pretty well that memory is essential. It's really important. So again, all of the life-shaping experiences that we have, the skills that we learn, the things that define us, they're all a product of our ability to form and keep memories, different types of memories. And so your book talks about memory and learning kind of in the same chapter. And so while learning and memory are two very prominent areas of psychology, they're very much interlinked. Because without our ability to make memories, we could never learn anything. And so we're going to talk about again today memories, the different types of memories, and then I believe you guys will be talking about learning in your next lecture as well, so you can kind of piece these things together. History and working memory. Now we're going to jump into long-term memory, okay? And so we're going to break this down into two types. So declarative and procedural. and then we're going to break down declarative memory, okay? So declarative memory is also called explicit memory, but I'll use declarative memory for the purposes of this talk. But sometimes if you're reading literature about these things, they'll term it as explicit also, okay? An implicit memory is procedural, and we'll talk about why declarative gets the explicit distinction and procedural is termed implicit here momentarily. Okay. So declarative memory is memory of facts. It's memory of events, and it refers to memories that can be recalled consciously. And there are two subtypes of declarative memory, episodic and semantic, okay? So declarative memory, memory of facts, recent or past events, things like that. And you can consciously recall them, you can go into your brain and bring those memories back to present day, to where you're focusing on them in the present, okay? So episodic memory is a memory of an episode. I mean, it's just kind of what it says. It's an event that you've remembered, okay? So this is actually a picture of little Amy here, and this is my grandma's 65th birthday party. I remember this party very, very well. I remember the dress I was wearing. I remember my grandma being so surprised that she cried when she walked through the door, things like that. So the dress I was wearing, remembering my grandma's reaction, knowing that my cousins were at the door, those are all episodes that I can go back and recall, okay? Episodic memory. Yes, ma'am?
Does this have anything to do with like flashbulb memory?
Flashbulb. I mean, yeah, so it is, so when you have a flashbulb memory, yeah, that would be, you know, an episode that you're recalling just out of the blue. So yeah, it would be triggering or using this system in some way, yeah. But just in general, when we go back and try to remember a class we took 2 semesters ago or things like that, that's episodic memory at its most basic form. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. Good question, thanks. So the other type of declarative memory is semantic memory. Okay, so this is different than episodic memory because it's just rote memory for facts, basically. For example, knowing George Washington was the first president of the United States is a semantic memory. Okay, we can recall that, and we know that that's true. Okay, so a little different than episodic, right? Is everybody getting the distinction between the two? Yes, sir.
So another way to distinguish is like episodic is something that you've experienced, whereas semantic is something that you've been told or...
Yeah, it's just a rote fact versus, yeah, an experience. Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay. So I'll unpack this a little bit more later, but just to kind of plant the seed, so to speak. The hippocampus is highly involved in declarative memory. So that's this little globular deal right here. It's very centrally located in the brain, and we'll talk more about this structure. And I want to make the point that in general, the entire brain is involved in memory, be it storage and retrieval. But the hippocampus, if it's damaged, what we'll come to find, it has a lot to do. It can impact the storage and retrieval of memories. So we consider the hippocampus to be kind of the rock star of declarative memory, okay? Any questions?